circles to the ancient runways in Peru?
It broke up the ancient runway. You're talking about the Nazca lines?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The Nazca lines, there's been some new research about that recently that showed that they were kind of where people walked along, and they had some real important significance. And they definitely are really big shapes that you can see from the air. They're done in, I guess, on the playa there, the soil surface, and you can actually see with various equipment where people walked along them thousands, 1,000 years ago, from its very subtle disturbance to the soil. So I'm not sure if it's exactly for the same reason, but it definitely has that feeling that something that you can't make sense of on the ground, from the air you can get a much better perspective, and we can only wonder about exactly, what the purpose was.
I've got Eric Von Daniken coming in next hour, Simeon, so we'll chat with him about the Nazca lines, too.
Sure.
That'll be interesting. Lori, thanks for your call. Appreciate it. Next up, we go to Sierra Vista, Arizona. Hello, Tony. Go ahead.
Yes. Glad to talk with you, George, and your guest tonight.
Sure.
Love the show. Been a fan since Art Bell.
Thank you so much.
And I had the same question as the previous young lady as far as the Nazca lines. Nobody really knows how they got there. And might they have been a precursor to the crop circles?
Always that possibility.
Uh-huh.
Always that possibility. Though they probably were made by those indigenous people at the time. The big question is why were they made,
Yeah, and again, when you look at something that big, you really wonder, how could anybody do that from the ground and know exactly what they're doing? Did they have some sort of aerial surveillance that helped them? Some of those apparently go right over mountain ranges and things.
Somebody was in probably a balloon. They had a hot air
like
balloon, right? They were sending them signals or something. Let's go to Dave. He's driving around in San Bernardino. Hi, Dave.
How you doing, Mr. Norrie?
Okay, David.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm glad I got through. Hey,
Super.
I just got a couple quick questions. One question, has anybody ever tried to bring a giant earthen magnet into the crop circle? And have you tried any experiments as far as natural energy, like a pendulum with different kinds of metals, and see if it's changed the metal in any way or given it a different kind of charge? Because you've talked a lot about it taking energy away from batteries. Maybe it's a different kind of energy we haven't found yet.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing that up. It's something we haven't talked about yet. There have been a lot of magnetic effects that have been observed in crop formations over the years. Colin Andrews did a study of the Milton Hill Farms formation back in 2000, and actually you can see the results right on the pictures page that we're linked to from Coast. He actually found that the formation created large magnetic disturbances that he was able to detect with many passes from a magnetometer. It almost matched, not exactly, where the crop was downed, and he actually thought at the time that there had to be magnets, powerful magnets, buried in the soil. But I later found out, that was a man-made formation, that there were 5 people involved with it, which makes it even more mysterious, because that means they didn't plant any magnets that I know about, and I doubt they're just buried there. So it suggests, and that's very important, that if you shape the weed in a spiral form like that, it creates magnetic effects. We also had a case in 2008 with one of our tour guests who went in. This is an electrical engineer taught at the University of Oregon, and his electronic compass, that the hands on it started pointing so that north and south are only 90 degrees apart. That should not be possible. And it took about an hour or two for the hands to start separating once we went out of the formation. So those are 2 examples. There are probably many others where the crop formation, apparently just shaping the weed into a nice spiral, precise form, created magnetic effects, which I would love to find out how that happens, because there's no conventional scientific explanation for that.
Okay, we'll go to Alice now in Brooklyn, New York. Hello, Alice. Go ahead.
Hi. I was listening to Linda Moulton Howe a long time ago, months and months ago, and she was talking about this stone that had been found that somewhere in the south, I think, and it looked like it had been there for a long, long time, and it had this pattern on it, and the stone itself had very unusual energetic properties to it, and the composition of it was like a very unusual composition, and it was nobody knows how this pattern was made, and the pattern was an exact pattern of a crop circle that had been found.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you are familiar with that, and
Yeah.
it just made me think about, and going back to the energy aspect of it, and it just seemed.
I believe you're talking about the Roswell stone, right?
Yes, exactly. I didn't remember that name.
I know the pattern on the stone looks like the formation, and apparently the stone had been there for a long time. And if the story is correct, someone who was out there just happened to see it, lying there in the desert or something like that. That's just
it was a
weird.
hunter, I think, and it was a really weird way he found it, and
it's very. I can't explain it. It's very strange, and I don't have enough information really to know why that's true. We can only speculate. But it looked like the crop formation itself, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe somebody should bring the stone to that specific circle and see what happens.
Yeah, there have been cases like that. There were the metal plates, I believe, found in Germany back in the 90s under the crop formation that looked like the formation itself. So there's a couple of cases of situations like that, but I'm not sure how to explain it.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking actually about just as I was listening, waiting to come on, the energy aspect of it, talking about how even the man-made ones somehow have this energy in them. Maybe it's something about the energy from the wheat itself, and when it's flowing in this particular pattern, somehow it, like the life force of the wheat, maybe. Right.
I think that's a very productive way to think about it, because what you're kind of suggesting is that collectively the wheat has a sort of intelligence or capabilities as a group when they're organized in a pattern that they don't have individually when there's just single standing stalks that aren't touching each other, that there's some sort of collective effect when they're organized that way, either an intelligence or a capacity that, they usually don't have, and that's really what it suggests. And it's something that we don't understand. So much like if each wheat has a potential in some way, you put a lot of them together, it adds up to something significant.
Let's go to Tujunga, California. Hello, Donna. Good morning to you.
Yes, hi. Hello, George, again. I was wondering, could it be that it could be a form of communication between the man-made crop circles and the ETs circles some kind of way?
What do you think? I'm not sure about the man-made, but I'm sure that it could be a form of communication, possibly from ETs down to us, Simeon.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Well, it could be bidirectional. It could be. And, Doug and Dave were interviewed, I believe it was by one of the newspapers or could have been the BBC, right at the end when they stopped doing it. And the last sentence of the interview is they said, we always felt like something was making us do it. And no one ever looked at that. And I know a lot of the circle makers have said to me occasionally that they felt something's kind of directing them. And we don't totally know what that is. But it could be, George, like you're suggesting, it's from ETs to humans. But there's no way to know exactly if the man-made ones aren't communicating something back. It's just something that we don't know what it is. And I'll tell you why I believe that. It's because, like, when you do something like remote viewing session, you don't know what you're doing on the page until you're really done with the session and you get your feedback. I mean, you're just scribbling and writing and so forth, but your subconscious knows what it's doing. And so the subconscious mind has a big capacity to communicate in ways that we don't consciously understand. And so there could be that aspect of it going on, that there's a communication that makes some sort of sense to us or to other types of intelligence that we can't consciously interpret.
Do you ever get frustrated, Simeon, when you're doing your work?
Yeah, you can reach a point where you just feel like, I just got to understand this, right? Yeah, I'm so close.
Yeah.
You're really at the edge. I'm sure anyone in any sort of scientific research, you really feel, and you can't quite get over the edge there. You almost feel like you can see it. The only thing to do when you're at that point is just to relax and let it go for a while, pick it up again, because what you're, again, probably doing is trying to fit it into a box that doesn't belong in, and that's what it's showing you. It's bigger than that.
Well, let's go to the edge of North Carolina. We've got you, Michael. Go ahead.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Have there ever been any crop circles discovered right before an impending disaster such as 9/11 or the tsunami a few years back?
Good question.
Thank
Timing,
you.
Simeon. What do you think?
Not that I know about. There could be some. I'm just not aware of any that were kind of put down in that fashion. Of course, you have to understand they're mostly done in the summer when there's actually wheat there, or it could be in the southern hemisphere in our winter. So they're kind of limited to the time of year when they can show up. But I haven't actually seen any correlate that way. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's someone out there that probably knows of some correlations where